Without Zeke, he is on his way. He was delayed in a court deposition. We expect him momentarily. So we'll take care of those items that we feel we don't need, Mr. Administrator. I'd like to call the Board of Trustees to order on Tuesday, May 19th at approximately 6 o'clock p.m. Roll call, please.
Lino.
Here.
Cole.
Here.
Solomon.
Here.
Duffy.
Here.
Baker.
Here.
Enquist.
Here.
And Zajac.
Here.
Approval of the agenda as published.
So moved.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Approval of the minutes as published.
So moved.
I'll second.
Questions? Additions, deletions?
Look good to me.
All in favor?
Aye.
Comments and correspondence. Does anybody in the audience care to make a comment about a non-agenda item?
I'm not in the audience,
Sure,
I
go ahead,
guess,
Julie.
but I have a comment. This might be my last board meeting with you, depending on what date you choose for June, because I'm taking PTO time now for several weeks. But I'd like
Zeke didn't tell you that
to...
that was all canceled?
Oh, I haven't seen Zeke in a few days, so...
That's why.
But I'd like to thank the board and actually past boards for this job that I've had with the village. It has meant a lot to me. It's really been interesting and challenging, and I think I've learned a lot and appreciate it.
Thank
you.
very much.
Appreciate
We
you too.
appreciate your service. Thank
I
you.
believe, I can speak for the board and say,
Me
we
too.
certainly appreciate all the time, effort, everything you've done to help the village. You've helped us, you've helped all of us individually immensely with the whole financial picture of the village, and we all appreciate it. Thank you very, very much for your dedication.
Well, thank you.
So where's the cake?
Yeah. Well, if you,
Yep, so next Monday
if you have your June meeting on the right night, I
Yeah,
might be
okay.
around.
Anybody else care to make a comment?
Just one quick
Would you
question.
please state your name and address?
Ron Zashki from Yakult and Sister Bay. The last time I had asked Zeke about finish date for the beach expansion, trucks gone, everything cleaned up, he said, and this was back at the end of April, he said everything's on target to be done and have it cleaned up and finished by the Friday of Memorial Day weekend. If that, I'd just like to know if you guys know at this time, is there a revision to that? Is that still the date? Or, you know, the bottom line is so we can start being able to tell owners and guests, you know, right now, all we're doing is saying, we can't tell you anything. And for owners and guests, as you can, I'm sure, appreciate, many of our guests, you know, feel like they have ties to the village because they spend a lot of money staying with us and staying in town when they're here. And it just kind of puts us in an awkward position to not be able to, you know, tell them what's going on. So if there's a date that is firm, that, you know, we can go ahead and let them know, we'd like to.
To my knowledge, there is not a date that is firm, but I'll certainly have Zeke contact you, or you can speak to him later after he arrives.
Especially when they start work at 6:30 in the morning. And then they leave it for 4 or 5 hours and then come back for another couple hours. It's kind of hard to schedule your TV around all this.
I understand. We're trying to get it done as soon as we can.
Oh, I know you are. You'd like it done too.
Yes,
Yes.
definitely.
Thanks, Dave.
Sir, anybody else? Correspondence. Janelle did pass out one letter. Everybody that came today? So Mr. Michael Kozemicki, hope I saw that. I will read it since it wasn't published prior to the meeting. Concerned about, to Zeke Jackson, subject concerned about Sunsplash. I am a seasonal resident and property owner in the village of Sister Bay. Was recently made aware of the Sunsplash Music Festival to be held in the village this summer. From what I have read, I have to be concerned that it doesn't turn into a hooligan fest, particularly because of the camping. I hope the village has a large number of security officers 24 hours a day. I see nothing but trouble in the so-called festival. I hope the village doesn't regret hosting this gathering. Thank you. Note that in the record, please. We're going to skip around a little bit, but we'll start off with item number 1. Consider a motion to call the board to review to order. I'd like to make a motion that we call the board to review to order at 6:10 p.m.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn the Board of Review until, when, June 16th?
16th, 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock. Thank you.
Is there a
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Oh, I'll make a motion that we close the Board of Review at approximately 6:12 PM.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Sorry.
Opposed? Thank you. Consider a motion of Finance Committee to accept, consider a motion from the Finance Committee to accept the 2014 audit report. Motion by Lino.
Second.
Some of you were in attendance at the audit. Juliana, do you want to speak to it all?
You passed.
I think the comments that Mike made were pretty similar to previous years. He went through the various funds, including the marina and the utility funds, and talked about how they've been doing. And there were no concerns other than the usual slight difficulty that we have with internal controls because of the small size of our staff. But no other concerns were voiced. So.
He was actually quite complimentary of Juliana and our finances and how things are done. So, once again, thank you.
Thank you.
So we'll need, any other questions about the audit? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Discuss a recommendation of Finance Committee and consider a motion to approve Resolution 311-051915 designating public depositories and signers for such. Page 87, 88 on your Zoom if you need to click on it.
I'll make a motion that we accept the recommendation to adopt the designated public depositories and signers.
Who are they?
On the next page.
On that second page, the resolution talks about, so for the marine, village and marina, it's the village clerk, treasurer, village president, and then the finance director, and then for sewer and water, it's the finance director, utilities manager, village administrator.
I will second that.
These are the same positions that were authorized 2-3 years ago, I guess after Bob Cuffrin left. But we've listed them as positions rather than with names because we don't yet have the name of a finance director.
And it covers us when there's a change in personnel. Any other questions or discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I'm going to jump down to item number 10, report on county activities from the county supervisor, Dave Lino. The county continues along the early budget path. The departments right now are currently working on input for their capital improvement project budget, which is a 5-year budget that rolls year to year. There is, as you probably know from some of the newspaper articles, there is movement on what had been called the Senior Resource Center. The village has committed, not the village, the county has committed a $2 million amount towards a roughly $3.5 to $4 million project is what it's estimated to come at. There is a friend of the center that is raising the matching amount, they're looking for $2 million. They do have significant donations out there waiting for paperwork of various entities to be completed. So that's in the process. They're also just completed a study for emergency services throughout the county. That's going to be presented at the board next Tuesday. That looks forward 15, 20 years throughout the county as to what needs to be done for emergency services and stationing. The model that's being used is much like the one you have here in Sister Bay, where there's an ambulance and full-time paramedic crew staffed 24/7 for the northern Door County part. If you recall, in the last year's budget, took effect this year, the county also approved an additional 6 paramedics that were stationed in Sturgeon Bay. The Sturgeon Bay station needs to be remodeled or rebuilt, and the committee is working through that now as to where that should be located, but the 6 new paramedics are now in fact on staff and on board, and they're busy. The calls continue to increase for EMS throughout the county. Of course, Sturgeon Bay, being the largest municipality, has the most calls. But the new crews have already answered over 140 calls already this year. The 6 new paramedics have responded to an additional over 140 calls.
Wow.
And it will continue to increase their aging population, of course, and their shifting demographics. There has been a finance director appointed for confirmation at the next county board meeting. Mark Janiak, who was the assistant finance director, did not apply in the first round. After we completed the first round of interviews, we cast the net out again for additional candidates. And at that point in time, he stepped up. Everybody was happy that he did and hoped that he would have earlier. And he finally decided to. And so the interim county administrator, Grant Thomas, has appointed him for confirmation at the next county board, which would be Tuesday. And he would be, subject to confirmation, he would be the new finance director. Also, you probably have seen it in the paper. If not, you will see it soon. We did narrow down the county administrator candidates. We had, I think it was cut from a list of 9 to 7, eventually to 3. Those 3 candidates had interviews and are in the process for second interview and follow-up after that interview. But the county continues to look forward to putting a new county administrator in place sometime, hopefully in the near future. The names of those individuals will be published, I believe, in the Advocate probably tomorrow. Once you get 3 or less candidates available, they have to be made public. And once we got to cut down to 3, all candidates agreed that was fine to release their names. So the names will be released. And that process continues and hopefully will come to fruition sometime in the next couple of months. And that would be my report, unless you have some questions about something you read or saw concerning the county. Do we have a separate financial page?
There is, yeah.
Yeah.
That's right in your.
It was in your packets
Okay.
this time.
All right, normally you get a hard copy, that's all.
Yeah.
So I want to move to review the financial statements, consideration of motion to approve the monthly bills, which is item number 11. Page 89 on the Zoom. Somebody want to make a motion?
I'll make the motion to pay the bill of $474,795.35.
I'll second it.
Any discussion items on any of the detail?
I have a question on page 91. Action Electric for the bowl for line burial is 18,000. Everybody else is around 2,600. Why such a discrepancy?
The bowl was, that was a difficult one,
It was a
I
very difficult one.
believe, yeah.
Didn't they end up having to move one of the boxes to the far corner of the building or something like
Yeah.
that?
You know, they're right on the corner. I don't know if that was the reason, but I remember that there's a lot of, I'm afraid Zeke could tell you more.
I do recall when we had some of this discussion in the past, we were told that the bowl was going to be a difficult situation, would probably be fairly more expensive than some of the other locations.
And I think it was off for a while too, for some reason.
Who was up?
The
The
bowl.
power at the bowl was off for a few days.
Is Action Electric is doing all the laterals, is that what the idea is for the businesses?
The hookups,
Yeah,
yes.
they're doing all the hookups.
Yes.
So we're not paying
No.
Wisconsin Power as, in addition to.
No, action on
We have another question. Go ahead.
Go ahead,
No.
Jim.
Finish up, I'm trying to
On
find
page
it.
94 of the Zoom, page for the village, you got Zeke Jackson, the movie screen for 5,300. I'm sure it was on his credit card.
It was,
The only question I have is when they do that, do we get charged tax? As a village, we would not be getting charged tax.
no, we weren't charged tax.
Yeah, maybe you ordered it online, if you're not in
Yeah.
Wisconsin, then you may not get hit.
But then why, when he puts it on his personal credit card, to pay for it? Why is he doing it on his personal credit card to pay for it?
We had taken action to increase the limit on our village credit card, but it didn't come through quickly enough, and he needed to order this, or felt he needed to order it. So he did it on his
He
card.
also did call and let me know that before he did it.
I have no problem with it. I just
That would
want,
be
I
the
don't
case
wanna
we
have,
expect to see
I don't
it.
wanna have tax, charged because we put it on a personal account
No,
versus
it
a
was-
village account.
It was, there wasn't, and we watched the tax issue very closely.
Anything else, John?
That's it for me.
Scott?
I'd like to
I'll
point
keep
out.
quiet at this point because I can't find it. I didn't write it down, but it's not major. It's not major.
I'd like to point out that there was one loan payment this past month, and that was on the new loan for beach expansion, Bay Lake Bank loan. That's,
Yeah,
you'll
for
see that on
18,000 or
page
something like
91,
that, yeah.
Bay Lake Bank.
I remember seeing.
So that's the first, we're paying twice a year on that loan. That's the first one, because we took the money out in November.
Any other questions on the financials?
Nope.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Item number 9, consider motion to confirm and appoint President Reno's nomination of qualified citizens to fill vacancies on committees, commissions, and boards in the village of Citrus. There are none to change. If anybody does want to make any changes, please contact me. Scott, you did contact me.
I did
on a couple
talk,
things.
yeah.
So at some point in the future, there may be additional changes, but having heard nothing from anybody, we will continue as we are. Yes. Yep. So we need a motion to confirm the appointments that everybody will stay on the current committees and commissions as they are currently assigned.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second it.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Maybe we don't need Zeke here tonight.
Going pretty quick.
See what else I can do.
Committee reports.
That's what I was thinking. I don't really want to do the plan commissions are pretty straightforward, but I don't want to do them without Zeke here.
Right.
Okay. Let's move to committee reports, starting on page 90 of the Zoom. Actually, it's a little bit later,
It's 103.
because we have the extra item. Okay, administrative has not met. Bay Shore Oversight has not met. Coastal Byways
met on May 7th. Same old thing, fine tuning the website, pretty much it. I did bring up about quarterly meetings, and they're open to that, but we schedule one for next month and we'll cancel if there isn't anything there.
So what date is that?
Our next meeting would be the 18th of June. Bailey's at 8:30 in the morning. But there just doesn't seem like there'll be that much to talk about, so I'm anticipating there won't be a meeting.
DCECD.
DCEDC met in Sturgeon Bay on Monday the 11th at the house that the kids built, the high school kids. Pretty nice little house, 1,550 square feet, 3 bedrooms, 2-car garage with a full basement. It's going on the market for $174,000. That was pretty much it.
Economic development. Has not met since the last one. Finance.
I was not there.
Yes, minutes are in the packet. Anybody has any
Budget.
questions? Budget, yeah. Fire.
I don't think we had a meeting. We were supposed to have a meeting yesterday, but it got canceled for some
It
reason.
was canceled. Yeah.
So I assume same thing in fire district exploratory.
To the best of my knowledge, yes, no meeting.
Historical society.
Did have a meeting, they switched the dates, so I didn't make it there, but they had an event on that Thursday, May 7th, and just a lot of planning things, a lot of schedule things, getting ready to open up the grounds over by the,
Corner of the past.
Corner of the
yeah,
past.
that one, by the museum in the corner of the past over there. Just a lot of details and stuff. There'll be a lot of activities and things coming up.
Get your breath. Take your time. Any questions? Library.
Library met on May 5th. Not a whole lot going on, discussed the bills, the audit was approved. It was kind of a short meeting because we had just had one, but everything's good. Your minutes are in the package. The next meeting's June 9th.
Marina and Marina Fest.
The Marina minutes are from the April 22nd meeting. We have a meeting for May is going to be after Memorial Day on the 27th. The most significant thing that's changed, it's probably not in those minutes, is our new Marina manager, Nicole Prout. We were going to be sharing her with Dave Harbor. Due to some personnel issues there, we now have Nicole Prout full-time as our full-time Marina manager. We're not sharing with Dave Harbor, and Aaron is the assistant Marina manager.
Questions? Physical look on your face, Julianne.
Did you say Aaron is the assistant?
I think so.
Yeah.
Something changed? Did I go wrong?
Aaron, I could update you up to that point.
Sorry.
Aaron is still going to remain the assistant marina manager. He will be available on the weekends to work at the marina. That's the plan going forward.
Oh, this is news to me. Is he not working during the week now, or what?
I'll fill you in.
Parks. Minutes should be in there.
Minutes, yeah.
Met has a wonderful public art project proposal coming forward.
Good. In conjunction with the Marina Committee.
Yes. I think we should say this on the record. The staff are working on an amendment to a motion that was passed by the Parks Department, the spirit of which was to install fencing around the park. Steve Mann and I now have had some conversation about how to make that a little more temporary, so it's not up all the time. Some of the posts will be permanently mounted, but the idea is, can we obstruct that view the least amount possible?
So you
Good
come up
idea.
and down based on events.
Good idea.
John, we took your idea about rope, and that's kind of what we are with it right now. We're gonna put up a couple of test spans, get everybody to look at it, get some opinion back.
Personnel,
No meeting?
Plan Commission. Minutes are in here. We will be reviewing and asking for approval of a couple of the items that are on the agenda that we have glossed over until Mr. Administrator arrives. Communications Technology has not met. SBAA.
There was a meeting for May, a lot of discussion on the tokens or tickets. Most people had a lot of concerns. They didn't think it was going to work real well in this situation. So that was, like I said, a lot of time spent on that. A lot of businesses that didn't like the idea. I guess that's what it is. They also discussed the operating agreement, and I think that's pretty close to being completed.
I have a question. I think I read in there that somebody, I think it was in there, was talking about alcohol sales at Sunsplash, and for Sister Bay Advancement to be the exclusive vendor for alcohol sales. My question is on Sunsplash, is that something that is being put on by Sister Bay Advancement or our marketing committee?
As our marketing committee is doing it, we're trying to, just a couple of updates on that. The village made an outlay of $15,000 to get that up and running. Subsequent to that, the finance committee is now passing motions to go along with it. There was a $25,550 gym grant that will go into promoting that. So this thing has gotten really big, really quick from a monetary standpoint. And looking at the logistics of who is likely to be able to do what, we thought it prudent to tap into the volunteer base that SBAA has to handle the alcohol side of things. They would receive a cut of that. That's a document that we're still working through at the moment. And per our contract with the vendor who is putting on Sunsplash, they also receive a cut of alcohol sales.
Will the village receive any cut of the alcohol sales?
Depending on what the final outcome is, yes. We've got to be made whole before anybody gets a cut.
That's where I'm going with the
Yeah.
question, is I have no problem with the exception of that that's probably your greatest generator of revenue.
Yes, sir.
It's gonna be alcohol funds. And so if we say we give all of that money to Sister Bay Advancement, then we don't recoup anything of our investment, and therefore, if you're going forward, we have to make ourselves whole for next year,
Yes, sir.
you know,
Our
for
events,
events.
just so you know, I did hear on the conversation that part of our closed session will address some of that.
Yes.
Okay.
Is that it on SBA?
Yeah.
Teen Center,
As on that,
Tourism Zone Commission.
continues to meet.
Meeting is is Thursday, this coming Thursday.
Utility.
There's some minutes in the packet. We didn't have a shared meeting, we didn't have a quorum, but the village
Village had their
people,
meeting.
village people met.
The village people.
You get into impact fees.
Well, one item that was kind of delayed would be the building of an additional water tower. Further evaluation and consideration of all available options still need to be looked at, and that will mean that some of the impact fees, starting soon, within the next 6 to 12 months, will need to be refunded because, you know, the tower isn't built by a set time. But if one is built, the majority of them will, and we actually think we're creating a new means of collecting there's discussion whether or not a water tower is the best solution for the village's needs. And so the current impact fees have to be used for a water tower. If engineers and the powers that be determine that something other than a water tower is the best solution, we couldn't use more than likely those fees, but we could, from now, moving on with the new
Yes.
plan, so.
So it'll most likely be addressed through an amendment to the existing impact fee ordinance to specify anything going forward would be used for water system improvements to address fire flows and pressures. Our current ordinance specifically calls out a water tower as the only improvement. And so a bit of a snafu with the language. There's been some case law on that has provided some wiggle room to municipalities. Should they deem at a later date that, for example, construction of a swimming pool isn't the best use of outdoor aquatic facility, instead they want to put in a splash pad. That's what the particular case was around. The courts ruled that, yes, from a planning perspective, sometimes 10 and 15 years out, you don't exactly know what the end result might necessarily be the best fit in the end.
So the current impact fees that we have that we've been collecting,
Yes, sir.
until we put this new change in place, if I understand you correctly, you're still going to continue to collect them, but given the timing, some will drop off the back?
Potentially.
Correct.
They're on a FIFO
So the
system.
impact fees will continue to roll forward?
Correct.
So whatever we've exhausted on engineering and consulting up to this point, those would be consumed. Anything that fell outside of that, some proportion would get refunded back to those who fall in the first tranche of the authorization.
Okay. Admin and oversight, comp oversight, has not met. Waterfront oversight has not met. Marketing.
We haven't met since before the last meeting, if I remember rightly. But,
I think it's still pertinent to bring that up.
sure, that you have kind of a better outlay on it than I do.
I think you do there, but, okay.
Well, everything's moving forward with the contract with SBAA. We are trying to move forward with the tokening idea, and I think at the marketing committee meeting, which consists of an SBAA member, it was received very well. And we actually had more than just the one SBA member. We actually invited a couple others, 3 others. And it was received well. And I think there was, something happened, there were miscommunications somewhere that the essence of what the tokening would be did not get conveyed properly. So we're hoping some way we can just have a conversation to explain that, you know, we're not saying that you have to give us a cut of everything. We're saying we just want to use these tokens as a way to control festival grounds. If it's on the property of a business, you guys do whatever you want to do. We're just giving you the option to redeem these tokens if you want to. But if you don't want to, no harm, no foul. But I think that got conveyed a little different. We're not telling the business this is the only way you can redeem these or get money during these festivals. This is an option for you. It's another avenue. It's just like a check, cash, credit card,
Bitcoin.
Door County Visitor
Yeah.
Bureau, whatever it is. It's just another avenue. So I think it was just conveyed a little
Yeah.
differently than, it was received a little
The
differently than we
understanding seemed to be that
purposed.
anything outside had to be used with tokens.
That's
No.
not what we discussed at the marketing committee.
Okay, because that's kind of the way it sounded at the meeting, that anything outdoors had to be.
Basically from
Tokens.
from lot line to lot line of an individual business,
That's all
what they
that.
do is what they do, but as soon as they
Okay.
step off that lot line, they have to fall within that, the parameters of our festivals and events, which is.
Public grounds.
Yeah, it's an ordinance within the village, so we're trying to find the best way to accomplish that, because the ordinance is there, so now we need to figure out how to, I guess, properly administrate it, I guess. So we thought the token method would be a good idea. It was very well received in the few meetings that we had. Tara Goki, who runs the Green Bay, what is the Main Street?
On Broadway?
Yeah, on Broadway.
Yeah.
Which is a very successful event from what I understand, and from the little research that I've done. And she outlaid it just perfectly. And she told us the good and the bad. And she said, don't do this because people aren't gonna like it, do it this way. So she laid out a lot of great stuff, and everybody was in agreement from what I understood. I mean, it seemed that way. And then when I heard that it went fairly negatively, I didn't quite understand,
Well, it
but.
started out positive, though. I mean, the people that were at the meeting said, yeah, they were on board with it. But then it was other people that started bringing up all kinds of other scenarios, and that's when it got kind of like, they didn't know if this should be, the way it would be done.
Yeah. I wish I could have been there, or one of us could have been there. I just didn't foresee a need for us to be there. But, you know, if SBA ever wants me to be there, I'll do the best I can to be there to explain that stuff. Because I think the intent was,
Positive.
yeah, the intent is positive. We're not just trying to get money. That's not what it
Right.
is, because
Right,
once
that was part of it,
SBAA gets a token in their hand, that's SBA's money. That's SBA's token. They can do whatever they want to do with it. And we've actually discussed having 2 separate colors for tokens, so we know whose tokens are what and what money goes where, whether it's a village event or a SBAA event. And they're interchangeable. You can use them at either event, but once that dollar's there, that dollar belongs to whomever it is. So we're not trying to pull money off top, either direction. You know, SBA is not trying to take money. So, because I know money's the big hot topic right now.
Right, there's
so.
some people that have been in the village a long time that really feel that it's not there just to be a moneymaker. That we're not supposed to be just trying to pull money, that it was to give back to the community and end of the season party, that there's a lot of locals as well as visitors that attend, and they were also very high on the not wanting to take anything away from the nonprofits.
Correct.
That's their huge
This
moneymaker
actually-
for the year.
Yeah, and this actually wouldn't. The way that we kind of looked at it is, it would probably actually be just a bit cheaper. It'd be ran kind of like Marina Fest is, where there's a percentage base that you make. So the more you make, you're not getting penalized more, it's just, this is what it is. Or SBA could say, you pay the same, you're just gonna get tokens instead of cash now, and then you'll just redeem them for cash at the end of the, so.
One of the things that came up, Shane, in talking about that with Tara, was that now a nonprofit who doesn't take credit cards, can't take credit cards, has a medium by which to take credit cards. It's through the third party of SBA or the village. You're coming up to buy your tokens, you're swiping your credit card with us or SBAA. As a consequence, they observed sales increase approximately 40% on Broadway when they went to tokening all of their events. So it's an incredible positive for them.
And there are some big numbers that have been thrown, like shared cost, that Tara has thrown around, like where she takes 50% of what a vendor makes. That is, at least.
That was an outside.
Yeah, that was an
entity.
outside person entity, and from what I understand, that has never been considered or never been looked upon well within the conversations that we've had, and I don't think it's ever been even motion towards. I mean, we basically said, okay, we'll stick to what we have, but what we're doing is trying to make the process a little more efficient and convenient. But I think it's just communication, and I think as long as we can sit down and talk about it.
Well, and people aren't easy to change either.
Well, yeah.
It's an adjustment, they're trying to logistically think, how am I gonna do this, or what am I gonna do with this, and.
Yeah, I just see it as our festivals and our village it's at a tipping point at this point, and we need to either decide to really go with what we're doing with, or we'll just continue to do what we're doing, and I think that's where we're at. We need to make that decision, whether we push forward, and with all this money that we spent on the waterfront, we need to figure out a way to maximize the marketing and the potential for this village. And maybe that's not a direction some people want to go in, but I feel we've spent all this taxpayer money, we need to try to bring it back in. So, and that's what this attempt was for, and I think that's the nature of what we're going for. We're not trying to, cushion our pockets. We're trying to bring more people in so the businesses can cushion their pockets. Because we've taken a lot of money, so.
Yeah, I think one of the huge concerns was nonprofits, so if that can be explained a little better, because a lot of them,
We have some more communications.
Yeah.
it's their biggest thing of the year. They really didn't want to have to lose 10 or 20% of what they make, because they already deal with the weather, they didn't want to deal with having to give percentages of it away besides. Because they feel like they all give back to the community. These nonprofits are local ones, and they spend money, they contribute the funds right here. you know, to the Girl
And
Scouts.
that
to
was never a
whoever.
notion. We never, I don't think that was ever conveyed that we were taking more money from anybody.
No.
Everything would be ran the same, but instead of $1, it's a token.
Yep, one of the things you brought up there was the weather and how much of an impact the weather plays on sales for our nonprofits. One of the things that On Broadway does is to provide an umbrella weather policy. They carry it, and since they've documented the sales from those different groups, whenever they have a rain-out event, they actually have an opportunity to make those event, or those groups whole. Versus in the
Okay.
past, when you have a big blowout, well, we had a big blowout, it was really bad. Sorry, everybody.
Then you try to go up to the pig the next weekend and sell what you can,
Right,
and lose all your
right.
money.
It doesn't work well.
Yeah.
It's really about taking things to the next level.
Really, really,
Okay, so I think a little more communication definitely helps.
it's a really big game of telephone right now is what's
Yep,
happening.
that's
The
it.
two people haven't talked face to face. There's just a lot of talk around what's happening. So I think if we can try to get together and discuss something, it's probably going to be the best outcome.
So
Okay.
you as marketing are gonna
Absolutely.
figure out how to do that.
Absolutely. Yeah, we've already had discussions about it, so.
Mhm.
Any other comments on committee reports by anybody? Okay. We're gonna take a 5-minute recess. I'll bring Mr. Administrator up to date with what we've done to this point in time. And we'll reconvene back in here at, I have 7:45, so 7:50. I'm sorry, 6:50. Okay, everybody's back. Let's go back into session.
Okay.
At 6:52. 7:50. We're going to move to item number 2, discussion recommendation of the Plan Commission, consider a motion to approve a CSM recombining and dividing 2362 Mill Road and 10685 Bayshore Drive by adopting resolution 312-051915, a certified survey map for 2362 Mill Road and 10685 Bayshore Drive.
Well, Dave pretty much just summed it all up there. Anybody want to?
Can you explain what properties we're talking about?
So in your packet on page 11, you'll see the CSM. Effectively, what's going on is with the new DNR stewardship grant, we want to encumber with a restrictive covenant the least amount of land that we possibly can that is going to be impacted by the beach. So in consultation with Chris Harbour of the DNR and Robert E. Lee, our engineering firm, this is the diagram that we came up with. All of the old Lot 1, which is effectively from the playground back towards the yacht club, already has that restrictive language on it. You received approximately $1.4 million in stewardship funding some years ago to help acquire the old Hilms Hotel. And as a requirement at that time, you had to place the restrictive language on it. The beach itself, because of the stormwater improvements and sidewalks going in, connect the beach area where the swim dock is all the way back to Bayshore Drive with a sidewalk and storm sewer system. That $45,000 federal rec trails money is what's connecting that portion. That's why the lot comes back as it does there. From the swim dock back towards Bayshore Drive. Then, of course, the beach itself is along the perimeter of the frontage. The only thing you're really adding that you maybe don't have to add is the playground. The thought process was that's a playground that's likely to continue to be a playground. Let's draw the line just on the other side of the post office parking lot. And all of what is now Lot 1 will contain a restrictive covenant on the deed indicating that this property is to be used for outdoor recreation. It's not to say that you can't do something with it in the future. You'll have to do a similar 6F conversion. You've heard us talk about that a number of times with DOT, where you have to go find like land somewhere else and purchase it, replace it, and place another restrictive covenant on it. Then you could develop this into something else with a later time. But it would leave the post office facility, parking area, and post office lane open to future development, as well as the Hendrickson Park area.
Somebody care to make a motion?
May I ask what benefit this has to the village?
Yeah, you're getting a $489,000 check from DNR and another $45,000 check from the federal government.
Weren't we getting that check before we were going to do this?
This is a condition of that.
Oh, okay. Sounds
So
good.
we'll take it, right?
Then I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Didn't take you long.
Take the money out of his pocket.
Any other discussion?
Do you have, are
All in
you
favor?
set up
Aye.
the fire station email?
Citizen transfer so they can survey that.
Item number 3, discuss a recommendation of the Plan Commission, consider a motion to conditionally approve a CSM recombining and dividing 10660 and 10654 Bay Shore Drive by adopting Resolution 313-051915, a certified survey map for 10660 and 10654 Bay Shore Drive.
Okay, so again, the term 6F conversion comes up. There were 2 parcels along our waterfront that were impaired by the DOT Bay Shore Drive reconstruction process. They had assessors come in and place a value on those properties that were impaired, that had received grant monies in the past. They needed to replace those grant funds somewhere else in the village. So one piece of this we've already rectified. That's the Mill Road parcel where we did a CSM. That will become a parking lot sort of behind Grassy's Grill, that area. The other piece of it is this. This is the CSM that creates a parking lot adjacent to the library out of part of the Braun property, what we commonly refer to as the Braun property. It takes 2 existing lots. You can see the dotted line where the gas station used to be out here, recombines all of that into Lot 1, and then delineates Lot 2, which we will have to place the same restrictive language on that we are for the CSM you just reviewed, saying this is going to be used for outdoor recreation, facilitate the beach and snowmobile trails and all those other fun things that are used for outdoor recreation. Within 3 years, we'll be required to improve this into a parking lot. We do get that amount of time from DNR before we're required to act. As a corollary to this, I'm asking for conditional approval tonight. We cannot actually approve this until the land transaction is completed. We're not the owners of the property.
So it's it'll be subject to...
Subject to closing.
Questions? Someone care to make a motion?
I make a motion that we approve, the Plan Commission conditionally approves the CSM recombining and dividing the 10660 and 10654 Bay Shore Drive by adopting resolution 313-051915.
Second? Second?
Any other discussion?
Conditional upon closing.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Report from village administrator on various actions, street lighting, line burial, issuance of zoning permits.
Okay. So the street lighting project is ongoing. They've accomplished burial. Charter hopes to have their switch over by tomorrow. I don't think they'll make that deadline, but that was their goal, was to have it done by tomorrow. WPS still has about 8 properties to connect on the north end of the project. They were doing Al Johnson's this afternoon, as I understood it. So that project continues to make headway. Did receive word from WPS today that they would most likely not meet their deadline to snatch out the old poles, largely due to the telecoms remaining in place on them and needing to move their equipment out. They will attempt to do so as much as possible. Have a meeting later this week at 9 a.m. with WPS to walk through the job site and discuss what's going on. We have had a number of issues with regard to restoration on the project, most notably Village View Inn. I think that is now significantly rectified. Very few minor issues still outlying that we've got to address, largely with the County Highway Department and asphalting. Got a call from them this afternoon. I'll need to go up tomorrow morning and inspect. Effectively, they have a dilapidated parking lot that needs a complete resurface. And anytime we go to do work on it with heavy equipment, it continues to impair that parking lot further. So it's a darned if you do and darned if you don't situation. We're doing the best that we can do, given the state that the parking lot is already in.
We had one question on the line burial concerning the bowl on the financials.
Okay.
It was $18,000 for the bowl and versus $2,000 or $500 for the other businesses. And my question was, why so much for the bowl?
If you all recall back the initial estimate we received from Action Electric, the bowl was anticipated to be the trickiest of all of the services. Actually all of the buildings in our site either have single-phase or three-phase power going in. The bowl had 3 different services, 2 single-phase and 1 three-phase, which is really just unheard of outside of a major manufacturing plant, having something like that taking place. So there was quite a bit of retrofitting that needed to take place. It's my understanding there were some transformers that actually needed to be mounted on equipment inside the building to get it to work appropriately. That was a little over the budget. I think the original was like $12,000 for that location. However, some of the others have come in under. I won't know what the butcher's bill is until we get to the end.
You mentioned the WPS and the telephone snatch.
Yes, sir.
Are they still planning on doing it, right? Just not making it by the date that they can?
Yes, sir.
Anything else on that?
Um,
I have one other question.
Yes, sir.
Since we'll call it various actions, can you give us an update then on the beach project?
How far do you want me to go?
Give us an update.
Okay. So the,
I want to be home by 10, but, you know.
I'm coming on 8.
The beach project is substantially complete with regard to sand placement and building of a breakwater. In case any of you get questions about what are those stones sitting in the middle of the beach, which seems to be the most frequent question that I've gotten on this, those are just temporarily placed until they can do the balance of the landscaping, move them back and create seating out of them. I bet I've had a dozen people ask me, what are you guys doing with those stones out there?
For the frogs.
So the tanks can't land, right, John?
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Just in case Canada.
From the beach. That's it. The DNR issued us 4 citations. We were named as party to 4 citations. And we attended a hearing a week before last on that. As a part of that, the village is engaging in monitoring. We take photographs daily and submit those over to Bill Brose. I won't get into the specifics of it other than to say that they contend one thing and we contend something else, but are working with DNR to ensure that everything is done appropriately and legally. We will file an after-the-fact permit at their request to ensure things are in good repair.
Are we shut down in the interim?
No. DNR advised us to move as quickly as possible to not damage the resource. I will tell you that when it comes to bill time, I did tell Mike Carr, I met with Dave on this, to go into overtime to hasten things for the project so there would not be damage to the resource, and he did that. All that sand got put down in very short order. Same with the breakwater they're building.
Well, it seems like they've been, I'll be down there and I'll see nobody. And then, like today, there's nobody there. Yesterday, they showed up for a while.
Any day that there are waves over 1 foot, they have to stop.
Oh, okay.
That's a condition of the permit. So like today, and actually I rode there right before coming here.
Okay.
So I wanted to see what the winds were doing out there. I could see where
It's
the.
more than 1 foot.
Yeah, I can see where the turbidity barrier was pushed up against the rocks. I'll notify Bill Brose. I did call Mike Carr on the way here to this meeting to say, hey, turbidity barrier is having some issues. I could see that in the water. There was some turbidity that had spread out beyond that, and given the wave conditions, I think that's to be expected. DNR in our conversation also recognized that in high wave conditions, that would likely take place until all of the sedimentation has stopped with the beach. There's going to be some washing of the fines that are there.
And is there any what's the expected building time for the rain gardens and the additional grading required?
Mike hopes to have everything finished by the middle of June in terms of all landscaping and repair. That's still his goal. He is working diligently to try to get the sand part of the beach open for Memorial Day. He doesn't know if he's going to meet that goal or not. That's what he's trying to do, weather cooperating.
If nothing else, could he open up the old part of the sand beach?
Yeah, the whole sand beach really is accessible at this point. It's just a question of grade from excavated area down to sand, you could walk down the swim pier and jump on the sand right now,
Yeah.
not have an issue.
Yeah, I mean, if for Memorial Day, if you can't do the entire beach, I mean, you could always put a plastic fence up or a couple rocks and just say, you know, use this side for Memorial Day and we'll finish it as we, you know, on
So,
Tuesday.
Equipment-wise, we have at least several more weeks.
Yes.
Anything else on that?
On the beach, no, sir.
Issuance of zoning permits.
Just to give everyone an update, I've issued 2 zoning permits in case there are any questions out there about it. One was for Claude's Kitchen, the other one was for an addition at Chop, both of which fell under an exemption in our zoning code that I feel like gave me the purview to be able to do those. Not subject to plan commission review due to the size and scope of the work taking place.
In the country. Okay. I guess we got to item 6.
Yes, sir.
Item 6, consider a motion to convene in a closed session pursuant to Wisconsin State Statutes 19.85 sub 1 sub E, deliberating and negotiating purchase of public properties, investing in public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session, and 19.85 sub 1 sub C to discuss personnel and employee benefits. Motion by Lino.
Second?
Roll call, please. That's all right, take that.
Baker,
Yes.
Cole,
Yes.
Duffy,
Yes.
Quist,
Yes.
Lino,
Yes.
Solomon,
Yes.
and Zapchak.
Yes.
Okay. Who do you need to stay in?
Everybody around this table?
Okay, right.
Okay.
Okay, I make a motion that we come out of closed session.
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Baker,
Yes.
Cole,
Yes.
Duffy,
Yes.
Quist,
Yes.
Lino,
Yes.
Solomon,
Yes.
and Zapchak.
Yes.
Okay, action items as a result of discussion in the closed session.
Make a motion that we direct the staff to take action as discussed in closed session.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next item,
Number 9.
number 9.
No, it was the, I'll make that motion, but didn't we have the DOT?
Yes.
That's
I
another.
make a motion that we extend the approximately $120,000 for the overage on the DOT project for Bay Shore Drive.
Second.
Don, you want to state it?
Yeah.
Appropriate, yeah.
At 120,000, you said?
Approximately. We don't know what it'll be
The
yet.
overage.
The appropriated for overages, cost overruns, right?
Yeah.
Cost overrun. On the beach expansion project?
Oh, no, not beach, no, no.
The DOT, the
DOT.
highway.
DOT project.
The highway.
Bay Shore Drive reconstruction.
Okay. You vote?
No.
I was listening to Janelle. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so that motion is that approximately $120,000 be appropriated for cost overruns on the Bay Shore Drive reconstruction project.
Right.
Is that right?
Yeah, let's
I don't
add,
like the word cost overruns. There hasn't been any cost yet.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
Anticipated?
estimated increases.
Estimated increase.
Yeah.
Okay. Estimated cost increases?
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Okay.
And we also need a motion for the sale of the old ball field.
Somebody just read item 9.
Consider a motion to adopt resolution 314-05-1915, authorizing the sale of the old ball field in the sum of $130,000.
And I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Matters to be placed on a future agenda referred to committee, official, or employee, other than what's already been discussed.
We still need to bring back bylaws on festivals and events and where they're gonna report to. Just haven't had time to address it.
Okay. Keep putting on next, carry forward.
Yep.
There being no further business to discuss, a motion to adjourn would be in order.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thank you, everyone.